All right, this is OneLastMidnight. Welcome back to another Astroneer video. So I was asked how to make ramps, and I thought about it for a minute. I was like, is that really going to be valuable? Do I really need to show how to make ramps? And the more I thought about it, when I was first getting into Astroneer, making ramps was a little bit challenging and not understanding what angle to be at and how to make them smooth. And so I figured, what the heck? So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Okay, let's talk about building ramps. So to understand building ramps, we need to understand the terrain a little bit. Now I covered this in my terrain tools tutorial, but I'm going to cover it a little bit more in this tutorial. The world of Astroneer is made up of polygons. You can see it on the side of this mountain, how each one of these sides is part of the whole polygon mesh. As you start deforming the terrain, you'll notice that the polygons change. They'll either shrink or combine together or maybe slope down in a different way. But the polygons themselves, as you start deforming the terrain, will actually change and produce different angles. Before you can start building ramps, you need to make a canister. When you start off Astroneer, your backpack is empty. You need to go find some resin. And your canister is already unlocked for you. And so start Astroneer by building off a canister. You're going to need soil. Without soil, you can't make ramps. Now, your world of Astroneer will be littered with holes. It'll be littered with cave entrances already kind of pre-dug in. This is a great example of one that is already pre-built. Now, I like to make my own hole. I like it typically close to the base so that I can run back up and drop the soil off when I'm done with it. But how do you start with that? How do you get a decent ramp to go down into the ground? Well, let me go ahead and build one for you. Let's say I want to build an extremely steep ramp. I would position the cursor, my terrain tool, pretty much directly at my feet. You could see I'm right here. And if I was to start digging down, you would see that the angle of these particular polygons are almost vertical. That would have been a pretty tough ramp to go down. I like to put my terrain tool slightly in front of my feet, maybe an entire body distance wide. This will give you pretty much a 45-degree angle on your ramp. Almost. I mean, it's not exact. But as you start digging down, not only are you collecting soil, but you could see that some of the polygons here would work very well for a ramp. Let's take this one, for example. Very nice. Or, if you would like, one of these polygons right here, right in the center. That would make a nice ramp. Now, since I have a little bit of soil already, I like to start making my ramp right away. You know, this other polygon might be a little bit easier to work with. It is really up to you on how steep you want your ramp. There are some advantages and disadvantages. One of the major advantages of having a steep ramp is you get down faster. Problem is, it's a disadvantage getting back up again. It's slower to get back up. I typically like my ramp to be steep enough that I could slide down it, but easy enough that I maintain my run speed. This is your typical run speed. I like to be able to run up my ramps. So let's start with this polygon. Once you've punched a hole into the ground, grab a polygon that you like, hold down the control button, and start deforming the terrain. You're continuing to hold down that control button. You'll get yourself a nice, smooth ramp. At this point, you're already gathering soil. As you deform the terrain, as you smooth that terrain and you go into new terrain, you're actually gathering soil as you smooth. Continue to keep sliding down that angle, that first angle that you created. If you tend to get off, for some reason you sampled this and your ramp goes a little bit wonky, goes in an angle that you no longer like anymore, go back to an area where you find the ramp is what you like, resample that, and just drag back up. That'll re-smooth your ramp out for you. Remember, you constantly need to be looking at these polygons. You could see that I dug right here and the polygon was off. It's not that smooth polygon anymore. So go back and resample a smoother polygon. You can see how these polygons are not 100% exact. Like this over here. If I was to start dragging and deforming this particular polygon, I would get a different angle, right? So pay attention when you start your initial ramp and stay with that initial angle to go down. You can see that I kind of messed this up. My angle has changed. So now I have a new angle. We'll start with that angle and continue on with it, and don't stop. You're going to get to a point where the camera angle is going to change. This is where I like to continue to punch a hole in my ceiling. Just kind of dig down a little bit farther and continue that ramp. Always continue that ramp. Keep that ramp going in a nice smooth motion. When you get to that point where the roof is a little close to your head, just slightly above where you're digging the ramp, keep pushing down, keep pushing down. Eventually, you're going to punch into a cave system. Just continue to keep smoothing out, and again, punch down, and there we go. We finally have made it into a cave system. If for some reason your ramp is not the angle that you want, let's say you get into a cave system, you can see that maybe a little bit more of an angle is required to get down. Currently, at this current angle, we would wind up somewhere over here with the end of our ramp. Maybe that's not a good place to end. So we can change our angle at this point. And this angle actually looks really nice to continue on with. So just continue on, sample that, and continue down. And you'll notice a transition between where your initial ramp started and this new angle is at. Now, I already have a tether system in here because I have already caved into this area. But now I have a nice little ramp, and you can see as I hit that transition point that I'll have some sort of speed difference running up. I am not 100% normal speed. This is my normal run speed, but that's a pretty good run speed for a ramp. It's not that bad. You can notice that I also can slide down this ramp to get down quickly, but I'm not going fast enough where I'm taking so much damage that it's going to kill me when I hit the bottom. You might want to level off this bottom area just to make it a little bit easier for that landing and just kind of smoothing it out. And that way it'll give you a nice little landing spot, nice little transition spot for when you land. So let's do it again. Again, the trick is that starting angle. You know, here is really too steep. That is pretty vertical. I like to come out maybe a body's width distance to get that nice slope, but let's go a little bit more extreme. Let's say I'm going to start here. This will give you a pretty extreme ramp. Now, it might be too extreme, but we'll try it out. I'm going to take this polygon right here and I'm going to start smoothing. And I'm going to see how steep it is. Now, this is typically not my kind of ramp, but it is a ramp that you can use. You'll notice that my speed for going back up the ramp was significantly slower. And that is actually using the run button to come back up. So I'm holding down toggling the run button. You can see that I'm running at full speed, but going back up that ramp is slow. This is kind of what we call a ramp of doom. It's pretty much the most extreme ramp you can get, or one of the most extreme ramps you can get. The angle is high enough that you're going to have an extreme slide going down, your maximum velocity going down, but then going back up is going to be slow. You typically are going to wind up jumping back up to be able to get up to the ramp. You know, constantly hitting that spacebar button to get that little jump to hop up and to get up in the ramp. Now, I find these ramps a little bit tough. They're a little bit difficult. It is purely your comfort and your style of play. I have a lot of people that I play with that really like these really steep ramps. For me, the only problem I don't like about these ramps is one little slip as you're going down and you start that slide. And sometimes it's really hard to stop that slide. So if that slide happens to be at the end of, let's say, a sudden drop, you're going to have a great experience trying to get back up again. In Astroneer, the terrain is procedurally generated. You are going to come across scenarios where you have to bridge the gap. Oh my God, this is pretty far down. I step off that thing, I'm going to die. This is where ramp building really helps you out. Again, look at the terrain. Change the angle of your camera. See if you can find some sort of angle that you can build off. In this case, I'm building up. And I don't like this angle. It's a little bit too steep. But if I flatten again, maybe that angle will work. If I change my camera angle so I'm looking at this from the side, you could see that this polygon is really nice for a ramp. So again, flatten and smooth, and you'll start going up. When you want to flatten that ramp out, let's say I want a bridge. Again, change the your camera angle, try to step off to the side a little bit, but try to find some polygon that is pretty close to flat. There are augments that you can put on your terrain tool that will help you get flat. But in this case, let's say you don't have the augments yet. All you have to do is really change that camera angle and you can see what you can produce. I started up, but then I got flat. And it's really looking at the angle of the polygons from a side view so that you can get an understanding of what you're sampling before you start laying it down. All right, let's talk about building ramps with mods. Now, the boost mod overclocks the deformation speed. It about doubles the speed. So you need to keep that in mind. Now, I'm on a tether line. The reason why is because using mods take up power. The wide mod increases the size of my deformation space. Now you're going to get a different result with putting on the wide mod and the boost mod. Let me show you building a ramp with just the wide mod on. You can see that the angles that you wind up producing are a little bit more exaggerated and a lot more angles. That's because of the size of the mod winds up deforming more terrain, and you get this kind of really jaggedy looking terrain initially. But still, what you do get is a lot of variety in the polygons to help you build a ramp. I mean, this polygon right here, I love it. I love that polygon for a ramp. That is the angle that I usually like. So in this case, if I have the wide mod on, I'm just going to grab that angle and I'm going to go down again. And you can see that it starts deforming that terrain. They're not going to be as smooth as one without the wide mod on. I typically find out that the edges are a little bit more jaggedy than the normal without a mod, but you can easily just smooth that out by just continuing to hold down the control button and do wide sweeps. And you'll get yourself a nice little roadway that you can then dig down in. Remember, using any of the mods takes up power. So make sure that you're on a tether line that provides you power. Let's go ahead and do the boost. What you're going to notice immediately is how faster this digs through the terrain. You can still get the exact same effect as using that wide mod when deforming the terrain. It's just going to happen a lot faster. When you start adding drills into the process, as you noticed, we hit some rock. And I'm not going through the rock very well. Matter of fact, I'm having some tearing. That's a defect. But if you wind up having that drill mod on, you can wind up going through the harder terrain, but you're going to dig enormously faster. This might be problematic. Pay attention to this as you start building your ramps. Now, here's a great example, and I kind of did that on purpose. But the purpose of that was to fall down and show you that building a ramp is really not that scary. So here, I fell down into a hole. I'm running out of oxygen. There's my scenario. Oh my God, I got to get back up. Remember, looking where that cursor is shines your light in that particular direction. Just grab out your terrain tool, find that polygon that is at an angle that would help with building a ramp, and start building down. Now, this might not be the angle that you wanted to begin with. It's a little bit more extreme, but look, it'll get you back up to where you started, and you just continue to keep on digging. Actually, that angle was not that bad because look, I'm going to run out of space. So you're going to have to change positions anyways. Might have been a good thing that we fell down here. You know, the only thing I could say about ramp building is that it takes practice. And you're going to get an enormous amount of practice in Astroneer on building ramps. You're going to have to go down into the cave system to get resources. You're going to have to bridge some gaps or drill some holes through some mountains. Somewhere, one way or another, you're flattening and building ramps. Hey, shoot, maybe you want to build a research farm. You know, again, building a ramp is all about deforming the terrain up and flattening the terrain. And you'll wind up getting pretty decent ramps quickly. You're just going to have to play with it. All right, well, that was my video on making ramps. Again, ramps are something that is, you know, a personal preference, right? Some people are like really steep ramps. Some people like a more gentler angle. But I hope you got something out of the video. If you haven't already, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, we have a fantastic community. We'd love to have you involved. And if you'd just like to follow me on my social media, you can find all of my links in the description below. I hope to see you guys again soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. Please remember to hit that like button if you like the video and subscribe to our channel so you can stay on top of all of our latest video releases. I release content almost every day. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.